It's mid-September. Finally, the heat and humidity is kind of out. So now it's time to do a lawn renovation. Now last year, what you see in the screen was dead from the drought last year. I don't have irrigation. I live on a well, so I don't want to run the well dry trying to keep the grass growing. So it's kind of, grass can come back and you need to water to drink. So that was my decision. Been fighting some fungus this year. I've used some spray to get rid of some weeds, creeping Charlie. Of course, crabgrass. Everybody has crabgrass. So for coming back after last year, reseeding heavily last year, not too bad. Some problematic areas that got hit hard with fungus, and then of course I sprayed some lawn weed killer on it, which didn't help. So I have some dead spots, as you can see. And also, as you can see from the picture, well, from the video, I have coarse fescue, fine fescue. I have a mixture of also rye, and in some spots I have clover, which again, I don't mind clover. Clover's fine with me. I don't go for the pure, one type of grass seed, one brand or anything like that. I kind of use it as my test patch of something new. Is it snake oil? Does it work? Does it not work? Kind of thing. So this kind of gets all the different stuff on it. But again, also being able to try it out and tell people, oh yeah, hey, you know what? It worked for me. It might work for you. Is better than saying, oh, well, somebody said that this worked. I got some dead patches in here. I don't know if it shows up really well. Some grass is trying to come back. So I'm gonna thatch it. Just gonna use the tine dethatcher. I'm not gonna use the power rake on it. See how that goes. Of course, make a video of it. So each time I do something, I'm gonna kind of show you what I did, just to kind of get an idea of how a typical overseeding's done. So this is definitely the before, and then I'm going to aerate too. I did thatch when the first treatment of fungus side was done, so it wasn't terrible before that. That was at the beginning of August. And then I've done 2 aerations since then, just trying to get it to open up a little bit. I'm going to do an aeration, double aeration, before I seed, just to really get it loosened up. This is clay soil. As the crow flies 3/4 of a mile from here, there's old pits from where they used to get clay out to make clay bricks. So that's the kind of soil that we're dealing with here. It wasn't bad. It's just this last round of fungal problems really just kind of hit it. I did a preventative treatment just when I started to see it, and I didn't get to it in time to do a second one when I saw it again. I was kind of in disbelief, so that's bad on me. So next time you're going to see this, we're going to be thatching it and kind of go over what we found and what we pulled up. So when you're trying to thatch, you're trying to get down into the root system. You know, you're coming out through this. This is some living grass that's intertwined with thatch. You know, you just want to get that out. You want to get down to the soil. And no, it does create a bare spot. But again, this lawn last year, for the most part, was decimated by heat and drought. So a lot of this is first year grass again. So it's looking a little thin, a little raggy, but it is first year. And also this year it dealt with a lot of humidity, moisture, fungus that tried to keep up with. This has been done twice. And all you're trying to do is get this out now. This is your Rubbermaid Brute 44-gallon can. And this is what you're pulling out. This is what you want to get out. Because this is blocking fertilizer, air, moisture. It holds moisture, but it's blocking moisture from getting down into the root system. So now the roots are growing up into the upper layer closer to the surface. So now you got a weak root system. That first, heat spell, it gets stressed out, or heavy rain, it floods itself out. It kind of washes away because it's just hitting, the water is hitting this and just running off, and it's washing off whatever it is. And if the roots are in here, they're just getting sogged. They're going to rot. So you're not going to have a good root system. So that's kind of the reason why you want to thatch. And also, in some spots you got the lawn that just lays down and over, and you don't want that, because you want the lawn to grow straight up, not horizontally. You want it to grow vertically. I can show you other spots in the yard where that's evidence. Alright, so it's been a few hours since I thatched it in the morning, and there was morning dew. It's just the way the schedule kind of worked out. So I know some people will be like, oh, you did it when it had morning dew on it, you did it when it was tall, and it's like, okay, fine. That's how my schedule worked. Let me appease the lawn gods. Dear St. Augustine, Bermuda, and Blue, please forgive me. Give me a large bloom of crabgrass in the middle of June. Okay, there you go. I appeased the gods. Anyways, so I got down. You can see a lot of down the soil spots. I have some from it being wet that it kind of came up the thatch, but it's still here. It's probably going to be cut at least one more time before I overseed, so that'll come up again. It's going to dry out. It was wet, I'll admit it. In some of these tight areas, I just hand rake it out because the machine just won't fit in there. This was done twice, and as you saw, I got a barrel full of debris from the whole yard, not just this section that I'm documenting. So in the next video, next part of this, it's going to be aeration. So you'll kind of be able to see what it's going to look like a couple of days after having this done. In a normal situation where everything's done in one day, this is what the lawn would look like, and then go over it with an aerator. And I know some people that I did work for and other companies that I worked for, people would say, oh, you got to aerate first and then thatch. So other people say, you thatch first and then aerate. I mean, I've done either or, but you get those people that look at you like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. And it's like, okay, don't know what I'm doing. Fine, we'll do it your way. But if you want it done a certain way, just let the person know. There's, ketchup, catsup, mayo, mayonnaise. If you want it done a certain way, just ask the person. Just say, hey, I prefer to have it aerated first and then thatched, or thatched and then aerated. Just let the person know. don't hold a grudge against the person because you were taught one way, and that's not the written rule, that's not by law. Let's not get into that. So this was thatched at the beginning of August, and I just did it again. Got a lot less thatch in August than I did this time. This time, as you saw, it was a 44 gallon brute trash can on the track vac. I emptied that and then went over it again just to grab all the little pieces from hand raking out the tight spots. So that's about average for this lawn every year, and I go between bagging and mulching throughout the year. So I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, that most of this lawn was just not even existent last year from the drought. So I'm pretty happy. It has some bare spots. It always has. It happens. I don't go over it and fertilize it like some other guys that you see on YouTube of using liquid fertilizer and all that. Most of the fertilizer that I do use has a soil conditioner in it of humic acid, kelp based products. I don't use a 4-step program or anything like that. I just feed it as needed. If it's starting to look a little thin, I'll give it some feeding. Other products that use sewage like Milorganite, I know that they got red flagged because they had some stuff test that it had PFAS from runoff, the fire retardant thing. So I don't know if they've cleared that up or not. But there's other products that are doing the same thing. And that's what I just use to kind of get it green, get the soil nice, just so that I'm not having to chase it, trying to mow it anyways. I prefer to mow once a week. I don't always have time in my schedule to mow it multiple times a week, and even though sometimes it needs it. And in those situations I bag that time so that I keep it in check. And if I did do all that, it'd probably look as good as everybody else that is a lawn care aficionado. But again, I'm just trying to keep it kind of average. If you're looking into doing this for your first time, or looking to hire somebody to do it and you kind of don't know what they're looking for, this is obviously what I'm doing. And also for my customers, if they're wanting to know more, I can send them this video of just your basic lawn care, not going super nuts if you don't want to. I know a lot of the other videos, they're great information builders to find out, see what they use and if it works or not. But this is just kind of a basic thing. So we're at least down to bare soil, so we're going to aerate. It'll be a couple of days, but for you, instant. Alright, this is just a side-by-side comparison of the neighbor's lawn and my lawn. Jeez, I hope you can see this. Now, I know this is some crabgrass, but you also have some regular lawn in here as well. You can kind of see where on the right side of the screen, it is crabgrass. There is some grass in it, but you can see where it's really long, and that was laying down. It was actually raked up when I went over it with the rake. So that's just these bare spots. When you rake it up, it opens it up so you can try to seed it again. So hopefully you can kind of see that. Now it's on your left side. So with thatching, you're really kind of combing the lawn too to get anything that's laying down standing up. And you want your lawn to grow vertically, not horizontally. So I hope that's a good contrast. Hopefully it comes out. Alright, thanks. Okay, just went over the lawn twice, going opposite directions with the walk behind aerator. Here's some of the plugs that you can see. Nice thing is that they're falling apart. That's one thing to check to see how deep your roots are, or how good your soil is just check your plugs after you've done an aerating. Some of these areas, like this one, it kind of really tore it up, but then walking over it and compacted it down. So when I go to seed, I'll kind of brush the seeds in to get good soil contact. But with all these holes, you're just hoping to get some seed in there and that the seed takes in those holes. And then it's not as easy for the birds to eat them, which is kind of a benefit. Over here in these tight spots, I used a spike aerator. Don't know if you can see it. There's like little tiny holes. In this space, it's just kind of hard to get to. That's why I use that one in that spot. So yeah, this is kind of what happens after you do an aeration. Again, give it some time, some water. It'll come back. It's just right now it just looks really bad. And over here in these spots, it tore it up pretty well. But again, if you get a seed to nestle in to one of these holes and furrows and everything, that's better, because if it rains, it's not gonna as likely wash away. It'll just sink into one of the holes or get stuck in one of the furrows, kind of like on a farm field. So next step is seeding. Okay, now it's time for seed. This is not a sponsorship. This is what was available at the stores around me, unless I wanted to go with pure Kentucky bluegrass, which I'm not going to try that right now. I don't want to play around with it. I just want to get some seed down, kind of fill it in a little bit. So again, it kind of depends on what's available. This is what I had available. Now on the back, or on the side, it might be a side tag, there'll be a sticker that tells you the type, what's in it, the percentages. But what's more important to always check for is the seed date. So it was tested April 2023. That's the number that you're always looking for. The fresher, the better. So you may have to dig around. Just a little tip. And when you see people talking about, they couldn't find the test date or whatever, that's what they're looking for. So as fresh as you can get. This particular Scott's blend I've had as like leftover buckets for 3 years and used it, and it took. It just kind of happens. But when you're looking at a store, just look for that tag, look for the tested date. The fresher the seed, the better. Let's get to seeding. Okay, so this is December 29th. It's been a while. I did the seeding, and okay, here come the excuses. The 15-year-old spreader I was using, the wheel broke off. I dug into the garage, found the old classic drop spreader, started using that. It wasn't calibrated, playing around with that, having to go over multiple times to try to get good seed coverage, and it still didn't work. Then did the starter fertilizer, and it was dark. I quickly watered it in so that the birds didn't play with it, and other woodland creatures decided not to eat the seed. Then after that, went to the Equip Expo down in Kentucky. Came back, had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, some big jobs to complete in a hurry. Doing cleanups, got sick, had a cold, getting over it now. To finish out the year, isn't that great? And other times I tried to come out here, the neighbors are either banging on something or the neighbors' kids are screaming, so having that in the background is just fun to try to record. So I had some spots to reseed. This was one, and that spot and this spot here I had sprayed with the ortho lawn weeds, where you can kill the weeds in the lawn but not the lawn. So I reseeded that. What I did seed with was the coarser fescue, and as you can see, you know, it comes in kind of thin, but then it clumps up like this, and like you can see some bare spots in between. That's kind of characteristic of clumping fescue. You know, it does spread sort of, but it clumps, and in between the clumps it does become bare, and that's where your weeds come in. So coming in and not aerating so much, but thatching or raking, period, just gets those horizontal pieces up and off the ground so that you can actually get other grass to grow in between to grow thick. And at the beginning of the video you could see that it was thin, but it didn't look this bad. This is obviously December after a whole bunch of frost and going into dormancy. This is kind of how this lawn ends up anyways. I wasn't really happy with the results, but again, I always kind of jump the gun because this grass seed always comes in thin, and then in the spring it looks great. So it's just this time of year that it looks like this. Constantly working on it. Like, here's a burnout spot. Now, there's actually, if you look, you can kind of see some sprouting, so that might come back in the spring. It always kind of, this yard always tricks me like this. It looks like hell, and then spring comes and it looks great. People say, hey, it looks great, but to be fair, the neighbors around me have crabgrass. So if you look at some of the, I won't do that out of respect, but they have crabgrass, and you know, this time of year crabgrass is dead and brown, and that's what their yards look like. So everybody's like, oh, your lawn looks so great, and it's like, yeah, I guess not bad, but when you're comparing it to crabgrass, it does look good. This is an old stump that every winter it sinks more and more. It's been like this since the mid-90s. So that's another fill in and repatch. But overall, the lawn doesn't look too bad for the time of year considering. It's a little patchy. I had to put down some lime just for the winter. And this was not a ultimate overseeding lawn renovation, I would say. It's just one way of doing it. You can verticut, where you slice in to the lawn and you create like small vertical trenches throughout the lawn. You can make a single pass, or if you do a double pass, you could do like a diamond pattern or a square pattern in it. And coming to that is these horizontal pieces get cut off, so then when you go to seed, the seeds aren't trying to fight through it, and it's kind of a nice practice. Going through with a rake does kind of pick it up. It's not exactly perfect, but with verticutting, the seeds have like that little trough to fall into. They have power seeders that, as it goes through, it drops the seeds in to those little vertical spots so that you have good seed to soil contact. I wouldn't mind trying one. Trying to find one to rent is difficult, and then it's either it's broken or somebody has it. There's another bare spot. I've had the squirrels coming through and dig out some spots. I vacked the leaves off once the lawn stopped growing. Just been getting so much rain that nothing's dried out, and just make a mess, and the bag gets moldy on the vacuum trying to vac up wet leaves. So once it gets dry enough, hopefully they don't freeze, but if they do, it happens. So with the power seeder, in one pass, you can drop the seed into the little grooves that are made by the blades spinning and creating the little groove. You know, that's not a wrong way. It is a little bit more expensive. The machine's a little bit more to purchase. It's a little bit more to rent, if you can find one to rent, which can be the difficulty. Just verticutting does help. I mean, that's one option. So I'm going to wrap up this video. It doesn't look the best. I mean, it looked good when I came back from the Equip Expo. But again, other things just took me away and it kind of got neglected. I'm sorry. But there's several different ways. This is just one way. Next year, if I do it a different way, I'll video it. Maybe do some different videoing. Maybe having a tripod would be nice. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, some people call it traditional of thatching, aerating, overseeding. Some call it traditional. I mean, power seeding, verticutting, however you want to call it. Do you have to thatch? I'd recommend it just to give the seedling something to, you know, climb out of and not fight through. Aerating with that, not necessarily, because you're cutting the grooves in it, so you're kind of alleviating some compaction. It's not like a plugger where you have the vacant hole that can be loosened up as erosion fills in the hole from other spots. There's a lot of different theories on that, and you know, obviously whatever works for you, stick with it and continue with it. And if there's an improvement and you want to take a chance, try it. It could be better, it could be worse, but just stick with what works and always look for something that might help and do a test patch. That's what I do. That's kind of why some of the lawn, as you see, is patchy from trying different things. But you know, I know there's videos out there, best way. I'm not saying this is the best way. This is one way of doing it. I did it another way of not thatching, but just going over with the aerator numerous times. I do it's called the circle aeration. It's done on golf courses where you just go in a circle and you just slowly move your way over and over, making a circle. So you get this whole random pattern and multiple holes in one spot. I did that once and overseeded with that, and the lawn came out good. I was pleasantly happy with it, because after finding out that the people didn't water it because they didn't want to spend the time to extend a hose out over their 1.5 acres to water it, which, you know, kind of makes you upset, but kind of happy that it did work, even though they didn't take care of it. So just giving you a little bit of insight. I mean, could go into detail and over about this, but this is just one way of doing it, of getting the thatch out, raking up the lawn and getting everything to stand up straight so that you can see the bare soil, aerating it to loosen it up and have a spot for fertilizer, water, any eroding soil and seed to fall into, to have a little bit of a good seed to soil contact, watering it after seeding it to knock the seeds off of any of the blades of grass and get onto the soil. Another thing that you could do after seeding or with seeding is top dressing, putting a layer of compost or sand, depending on your soil needs, is another way to add nutrients and good seed to soil contact. But again, if I do that another year, you know, I'll video that of top dressing. I do have a couple of videos of that, just off and on, little snippets. So that's another option to do. But for 2023, this is what we did, what we had time for, rushing around. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Take care.